Hello, I'm the guy who likes moon music. So, Coldplay released their 10th studio album just over a week ago, and it's been received to varying degrees. But I think it feels like the consensus that I've seen broadly seems to be that it's pretty good. It's a turn for the better. It's better than Music of the Spheres. It's the best that they've sounded in a while. Maybe it's not the best that they've ever sounded. It's not as good as, Parachutes or Viva or Rush, but this is where I'm going to disagree. I actually think that this might be their best album. I am going to do my best to convey why I think it's this and why this album means a lot to me and why I hold it so high in regard by kind of just pointing out things that I feel like haven't been called attention to, that in my time listening to this album over and over and over again, that really stuck with me, or that I feel like are particularly great, for lack of a better term. Right at the top, I think this is Coldplay's best album, or at least to me, it is my favorite album. I would say my second best, for some context, is Music of the Spheres, which I know is by itself a really spicy take, but I recognize that Music of the Spheres presses a bunch of buttons that I personally have that I really like. Maybe I'll do this kind of a thing for that album later. And then I would also say Viva La Vida is fantastic, and Ghost Stories is another personal favorite. Poster, Viva poster just out of frame, Music of the Spheres poster, signed Moon Music card. I really like these albums. And there's a common thread among all four of these albums for me. And that is, when I first heard the album, I thought it was good, but I wasn't head over heels with it. And they were all albums that took several listens for me to really get it, for these songs to really work their magic and unfold. And again, having listened to this album probably about 20 times at this point, these songs have unfolded for me. When I first heard it at the early listening party at a theater Wednesday evening, the week of release, I left the theater thinking, yeah, this is pretty good. I'd rated it pretty highly. It sounded nice. I'm going to need to listen to it a little bit more, though. I certainly did. Let's just go track by track, because I think this is truly the best way to experience this album. Individually, I love these songs. Like, if I maintain a rating where I'll sort every single Coldplay song by how much I like them, because I'm a freak like that. And the way I place these songs is by listening to the album from start to finish and then placing them within tiers and then kind of sorting them out a little bit later. These songs I rate within the context of listening to them on the album. And I will say, if I have some criticism of Moon Music, it's that I feel like there aren't a lot of tracks here that work as solo listen experiences. I feel like for the songs to be as meaningful as they are to me, it's always within the context of another song. And right off the bat, we get that with the first track, Moon Music. So it opens with a string section. I believe this is called Forever Held by John Hopkins, who's, of course, a wizard. But I really want to call attention to something, and this hit me as soon as I was listening to it for the first time in the theaters. All right, so we have this ambient, spacey atmosphere. Fantastic. Love it. Sounds so optimistic and bright, like full of awe and wonder. Everything is delightful. Look at this. If you're intending to listen to Moon Music for the first time by listening to my review, you're doing this very wrong. I'm going to pause constantly and discuss what we just listened to. So right off the bat, it opens with these very beautiful, uplifting, awe-filled notes. But then at the end of that last bar right there, it sounds so emotional and sad and broken. And that's the whole message of this entire album, encapsulated in the first minute of the album in an instrumental form. Moon Music is fundamentally about finding the love and positivity and connectedness in a world that doesn't always feel loving, connected, or together. You feel this if you're getting in the mindset of Chris Martin, who is always spreading this message of how we're all in this together, we're all one big band, this togetherness of humanity. That coming face to face with the reality of there are hurtful things that happen in the world, and people will harm each other, and people will wrong each other in any number of ways. And sometimes things aren't that beautiful, and we lose sight of that. And so MUSiC is an album that is exploring, how do you marry these two things? How do you feel this sense of awe and wonder and excitement about everything that is life on Earth with life on Earth? So it dwells in this, again, just very just emotional sounding strings. These are absolutely gorgeous. Thank you, John. This by itself would be fine. This would be lovely. But it's the juxtaposition against the rest of the album and what follows. There's really not a whole lot going on here on the piano either. But what is really important is that you can hear the piano. Not just like, oh, it was mixed and you can actually hear it and it's not like lost in the mix or anything. You can hear this piano, like you can hear the mechanics of the piano. This is mic'd so close to the piano that you can hear the keys squeaking as Chris is pressing them. To me, this sounds like it's coming from not only just within the piano, but very much within the heart. This is a message from how you feel deep within. This is something that I feel like Coldplay and a lot of other songs that I really like do a lot, is we're actually kind of given the full melody right up front as an instrumental. We're kind of given a preview of what's to come. I also love those little synth, like those sound really nice. I like those. But we're given a preview of how it goes. So when he comes in with the verse with basically the same melody, there's a sense of familiarity to it. We're not overwhelmed with new things to take in, so we can really focus on these words.
Once upon a time, I tried to get myself together, be more like the sky and welcome every kind of weather.
This verse also sets up another thing I'd love to talk about that MUSiC doesn't do a whole lot, but I did notice it on my first listen as well, and I was like, that is cool. So this verse begins with this phrase, once upon a time I tried to get myself together. I like this mirror of be more like the sky and welcome every kind of weather, be more eagle-like, find the flight in every feather. Like that sort of mirror, once upon a time, be more like, once upon a time. There's this like symmetry to it, where it's like an A, B, B, A kind of phrasing. I think that's so cool. When it loops back to the A verse, it's once upon a time I tried to get myself together. Once upon a time, but I'm still trying to get better. It's revisiting it, but acknowledging the meat that we just chewed through here with the rest of the verse. Like, I think that's super cool. I think that's a fantastic way of introducing an idea, exploring it, and then coming back and being like, where are we? Where are we with this idea now? MUSiC is very self-referential in this way. It does this very often, not just with the lyrics in this A, B, 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 A idea, but also thematically. We'll get to Rainbow/Alien Hits Alien Radio later on, but we're going to be revisiting this melody, and the fact that we heard just the piano version, then we heard the vocal verses over it that are going to match that melody. It's reinforcing this melody for a very deliberate reason. It's because we're going to come back to this later. This isn't just, here's this song. This is, here's this idea. There's more to it. And we're going to spread it out over the 44-some minute runtime of this album. Here's the thesis statement. Once upon a time, I tried to be welcoming, open to these things, find the good side. Part 2, maybe I'm just crazy.
I should just be a brick in the wall. sit and watch the TV, blame everyone else for it all. But I'm trying to trust in the heavens above, and I'm trying to trust in a world full of love, fire and water, and constantly dream of the balance of things and the music between.
Again, whole thesis statement of the album. I'm trying to hold on to this.
Is anyone out there? I'm close to the end. Is anyone out there? I just need a friend.
It feels like I'm falling. People will rag on this intro and this interlude, or like the way that these tracks connect. I think this is art. The next track is Feels Like I'm Falling in Love. And it is about fundamentally just opening yourself up to being vulnerable, opening yourself up to the idea of just loving another person, loving honestly just the world again, and letting that light in. And with the contrast of how low we are at emotionally in MUSiC, this idea of this complete deconstruction of this idea of maybe there isn't a bright side in everything. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy and I should just embrace the darkness, just be cynical like everybody else. I'm not going to say that I have the same worldview, but I feel like my worldview is deeply inspired by this message. I do try to find the connection and the positivity with my fellow human because personally, I don't believe we have any other choice. I don't believe the alternative shows us any answers or any promises or any ways forward. But that is difficult. And I feel that. In my heart of hearts, you know, we can all hold hands in kumbaya and everybody's a neighbor. But in the real world, somebody stole a package off my porch the other day. There's a lot of hurt out there. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of worry. There's a lot of drawing inwards and feeling like we do sort of have to fend for ourselves and that we can't reach that higher ideal, seeing the humanity in other people and just being all one big unit. And it feels like you're falling when you lose track of that. When you lose track of any sense of self or any way that you hold your identity together, when you lose that, it feels like there's like, what do you grab onto? What do you hold on to? What are the things that are solid once you shake that foundation? Again, just having that transition, reinterpreting Feels Like I'm Falling in Love. I mean, we're going to get there, and that's the idea that it's going to expound on later. But the first part of that is Feels Like I'm Falling, and that contrast is really cool. I don't have a whole lot to say about this song individually other than it's a pretty competently written song. I don't like the verse laws. People will say get a whole lot of word count out of the laws and criticizing them. I think they're fine, with the exception of the verse laws in this song and in another one.
I know, la 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 la. I know, la 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 la. Still I don't let go.
I feel like those laws were placeholder lyrics that Chris just didn't figure out what he wanted to say there. But he knew he wanted that melody and he knew he wanted that syllable count. That's been my vibe since I first heard it when it was released as a single. And yeah, I don't love that. If you just ignore the laws, it's I know, still I don't let go, which is a fine summation of the idea that they put forth. And again, this is sort of this ABBA kind of format where it's like, I know this could hurt me bad. I know it could feel like that. I know I was born to kill. I know, still I don't let go. Revisiting an idea we put forth earlier in the song, lyrically revisiting that idea and saying where we go from here. I will say the bridge, if you can call it a bridge, is outstanding. I love bridges. They're the earned verses. They're earned in the way that they create contrast. You have to have something to contrast a bridge against, or you don't have a bridge. You just have another verse. And this really isn't even a true bridge, maybe, but to me, it's. love the supporting vocals of Coldplay songs. Feels Like Falling in Love is the bow that wraps up the ideas that we put forth in MUSiC. Hey, listen, it's our strings again. It's our strings, our friend, the positive strings from the beginning of MUSiC. Positive, uplifting strings. Again, sort of symbolizing this message and feeling of optimism. This is sort of the positive resolution of that string section that took a turn for the worse. It feels triumphant in a way. And this is sort of the fuel that gets the album going. It finishes its idea. It finishes it for now. This is sort of the end of the first A. And we got to get a BB in the middle here before we can get back to this in A. The follow-up of this idea is, okay, I'm going to open myself up. I'm going to give myself a try and hold on to the love I know that is in the world, which is whoever my significant others are, whoever my friends are, the people around me that I know, trust, that fill my life with light. We move on to We Pray. Song's way overhated. This sounds so funky. Just love that. I believe it's sort of, it's a, I want to say it's like a kind of an Arabic key. It's just something about the spacing of the notes in particular. Like there's certain the way that the notes are spaced apart basically has this particular vibe to it. I love it. I love that sound. It just sounds cool to my ear. But I understand that it's not everyone's thing. All right, so World's Most Basic Take. This is a song about how everybody in the world is fundamentally praying about the same things. We all want peace. We all want things to turn out better. We want the strength to make it through hard times. We really don't want to hurt each other. We want to get through on the other side of it. And I think that message is fantastic. I think no matter what your faith position is, no matter what your life situation is, I think all humans are fundamentally wired to want the same things. And there's a kind of unity in acknowledging that shared want. That's fantastic. And then, all of the different guest verses on this explore that idea. Love it. It's a plus. I'm so glad that the album version has Eliana. Love it. I wish it was mixed just a little bit higher though. Mild criticism. There's that sort of that, like, I guess Eric key is that like I just think that sounds so freaking cool. I love it. And I love the line, till nobody's in need. Like I feel like that should be our fundamental goal as human beings, as a communal species. The way that I view the world is that we're all a part of a superorganism. Like all of humanity is just different parts of this bigger whole. And we're all just working to keep this whole thing going together. I feel like the only way that we can truly meet our full potential is if we are looking after everybody. If you look to your neighbor and make sure that they're taken care of, and they look to their neighbor and they look to see that they're taken care of, I feel like until nobody's in need, we're going to keep all desiring for a different world, and we're going to keep desiring for it to be reshaped in some way. All right, so that's We Pray. We Pray is a big song where Feels Like I'm Falling in Love is a little bit more personal. Like the stakes of Feels Like I'm Falling in Love and MUSiC are very inwards. This is a song that's looking outwards and looking to the bigger picture, because now that we've found something to hang on to, something to put a little gas in the engine, another couple of drops in the bucket to get going and look out into the world and look beyond ourselves, because under stress, we always draw inwards. And we look to try to take care of our own needs first. But once that has been satisfied, then we can start to look outwards and look to our neighbors, look to our friends, look to others, and make sure that they're being taken care of too. And so this is representing that opening up to the world now that you have something to ground you and something to let you keep moving forward. So Jupiter's a lovely little song. I don't have a lot of complex takes for Jupiter other than I think it's just a well-written, delightful little song. I understand the song is extremely meaningful to a lot of people simply for queer representation, which I'm all for that. That's A plus. I am a straight white male. Have not experienced people telling me that I'm wrong in the same way, or that who I am is fundamentally wrong. I can't have that perspective, but I can understand and empathize with it. I just think this song is very well done in that regard, because it's a very accepting message, which is, of course, the right way to go about approaching the way that you feel about your neighbors, is it to at least extend some empathy, even if they feel, act, believe differently than you. And where I think Jupiter succeeds is that rather than having a sort of preachy message of telling other people how to feel or how to behave, how to treat other people, which I feel like is, nobody really wants to be told what to do. I feel like Jupiter's succeeds in its approach of being basically a musical diary entry. It feels very personal. It feels very grounded in a single character. And I feel like this is the more successful way to go about bringing people together in acceptance and understanding. This approach is successful because it makes it personal. We are a storytelling species. It's easy to hate something you don't understand, and it's easy to hate something that exists in the abstract. But Jupiter as a song and as a character, this is a character, and this is their story, and this is their experience, and this is how they feel. That allows you to sort of come to the conclusion yourself. If your heart is closed to people with queer identities, I feel like this is a more effective way to open up those hearts a little bit more. Yeah, it's just delightful. I just want to say I love the chorus so much, specifically the call and response, because I'm a sucker for that. String sections. So many fantastic string sections here on this album. I also want to say the little miscellanea between tracks, which is this, Jupiter's the first instance where we start to hear it. Just absolutely delightful. I delight in this. Something I also want to talk about with this interlude here is there's some continuity of the message here. This vibe right here, it feels timeless. There's a timelessness about this little interlude right here. I feel that in a lot of the discourse surrounding queer identity and its place and acceptance, it's sort of couched in this language that this is a very contemporary issue, or that this is a sign of our times, especially among those who are more quick to judge. Is that, oh, this is a recent trend, and it really isn't. It's the way that we talk about it is certainly recent and has recently evolved. But I don't think this idea of striving to love and follow your heart wherever that may lead, I don't think that impulse is new. In fact, I think it's very old. I think it's one of the most ancient things in us. Where there's a difference is how the broader culture accepts, talks about, and reacts to it. Something about the song Jupiter, because it's very stripped back, it does feel sort of really organic and folksy, and it has this timeless quality to it. And it explores that through the different movements in the interlude. But this particular interlude right here, for some reason, feels almost like, I don't know, like 50s or 60s or something, which I feel like was an era where it was particularly taboo to have an openly queer identity. I don't know. I'm probably just looking way too much into it here. Again, I am a straight white male and I don't know shit. So we're going to move on to the next song before I talk out of my ass more. All right, Good Feelings. Love this song. This is a banger. Like, fantastic bass work. Thank you, Nile Rodgers. I believe I believe this is Nile Rodgers, but this might just be Guy Berryman. I don't care really who it was. Thank you for this funky groove. I love this. It's got an amazing beat. It's just, this is just a good song. This is a popsicle on a summer day. This is just sweet on sweet, and it's delightful. The guest, Ira Starr, fantastic. Those vocals are so...
We fell in love in the summer. I remember, baby, we fell under the moon.
So crisp. So, just punchy in all the right ways, but still like just smooth as silk. It's like a perfect cube, but like coated in silk or whatever. I don't know. Like, that's just the vibe that I get from this. But I think the broader message here is don't ever let go of those good feelings. And yes, you can say that this is just a shallow pop song. Hey, remember those good times? Yeah, we're all having good times, or dancing, good feeling, dancing to the radio kind of situation. Yes, and that might just be what they were going for. But to me, the message of don't ever let go of those good feelings we had for each other, you can sort of read this in the context of We Pray and Jupiter and the song that's about to come up, where don't ever let go of those good feelings we have for each other. Holding on to and persisting with this idea of a larger than one-on-one compassion, I think, is the message of Moon Music, and it's a broader message that Coldplay delivers to the world. Again, you can say that I'm just reading into this too much if you want to. I'm not going to tell you what to believe here, but this is how I read this. This is contextual in the whole work that is Moon Music. Just the song Good Feelings by itself, this is just a pop bop, and that's great. But I don't feel like Coldplay does anything accidentally. Trust me here. Their standards are too high to just put something out there. If you dig into the behind the scenes stuff, if you dig into the interviews, if you dig into things, there is an intense quality control in this group, especially considering this is their 10th of 12 albums that they're going to release. They care about the album as an art form, as a way to present something. While I feel like Parachutes had a broader vibe to it, the songs were like, yeah, okay, here's a bunch of different facets of this exploration of a kind of anxiety, meeting a kind of love, meeting a kind of remorse over what I've done. And then A Rush of Blood to the Head is definitely an album about volatility, where X and Y is sort of this more existential kind of exploration and realizing that there are many dimensions to things. I think it really was when Viva came along where they were like, if we're going to release something in the package of an album, it has to say something from start to finish. And every album since Viva La Vida has had an arc to the tracks, or at least as in my reading. And you can listen to this and say, okay, this guy just over analyzes everything and tries to make things fit. That's okay. That's fine. But I see something. I see that they put together a cohesive message. They have something to say, and they care about the album format in the way that it can present an idea from start to finish when you put play and just let it go. And yes, they will release singles. But you'll also notice that a lot of times the single versions of tracks have to cut out some connective tissue between tracks because they are part of a larger story, and for purposes of just listening to a single song, they need to be able to work. And they can work. There's nothing wrong with a song working as an individual versus working as an album track. But I think you have to understand that you can evaluate a song in two different contexts, whether you're judging it as an individual track or as a piece of a larger puzzle. And we'll get into that with literally the next track. So next track, Rainbow Emoji / Neon Forest, Angel Song, Opus 5. There's like a million different names for this track, but yeah, Alien Hits, Alien Radio, the Rainbow Emoji song. This song only works as an album track. I see a lot of Coldplay fans saying it's one of the best songs on the album, and some people just listen to just this song. I personally can't fathom just listening to this song. To me, this is very much a connective tissue song. We're going to be looping back to ideas that we had earlier. But I think it's really poignant that it opens with these lines that eventually became a full song Karate Kid, or were part of a full song, but like, as much as I could, as much as I tried, I just couldn't seem to find the light. And again, there's that pitch shifting, that low pitch shifting. And we know, because we're thinking about things critically, that this is a metaphor. This is a musical metaphor that we were introduced to in MUSiC. And what this symbolizes is that feeling of descending and falling and trying to find something to hang on to. You can look at the tracks that we were just listening to as these, Jupiter and Good Feelings and We Pray. Also, Feels Like I'm Falling in Love. These are all attempts to understand and connect with that positive fuel, with that oomph that lets you believe in the goodness of us all. We tried these things and we had a good time, but you still keep coming back to this gnawing feeling that maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm wrong. Everything just, there are good things out there, but there's still just all these troubles, this negativity. So where MUSiC was sort of almost like a prayer, Rainbow is the universe responding. Glows in your eyes. As much as I could, as much as I tried, I just couldn't seem to find the light. I tried. Universe responds. It glows in your eyes, in everything that lives, in all the stars in the sky. I couldn't find the light because the light that we're looking for is ultimately in each other. That's just like a really powerful way of exploring that idea. So then we get a couple of interludes. I think these are just previews of tracks that are going to be on the 11th album, the musical. That's my theory. We get to the middle. Because we're paying attention and we're thinking about these things as a whole package, what do we think it says about how we're revisiting that piano melody from MUSiC? And not only that we are revisiting this melody, but there's something very different about it. Where MUSiC has this melody, this piano part right here, mic'd so close to the piano, it's like the beating heart of the instrument. It's got a sparseness to it. The response is fuller. This specifically comes in after that message, that response from the universe, that it's in everything. And then we get Will singing, sounding just absolutely amazing here. To all of earth, they'll never give up. Storms pass, love lasts. It all goes by so fast. That's just another just really wonderful message that this has to offer. This is a lighter, and it's more distant, and it's more zoomed out, and it's seeing the bigger picture. It's not this sound from in your heart. This is from out there. And then we close on this just absolutely beautiful quote from Maya Angelou. When it looked like the sun wasn't going to shine anymore, God put a rainbow in the clouds. I've had a lot of rainbows in my clouds. I've had a lot of clouds, but I've had so many rainbows. That message wraps up everything that we just explored in MUSiC, Feels Like I'm Falling in Love, We Pray, Jupiter, Good Feelings, and then this interlude. So you could almost argue that this is a complete idea in and of itself. The first 6 tracks of MUSiC are telling a story of losing that light, losing track of the light, and then figuring out where it went, what to hold on to keep going. What do you do with this? You start again. Okay. I love this song so much. I feel like they could have ended the album with Rainbow. They could have ended the album with just that message of there's so many rainbows. There's so much beauty out there. Just hang on. Find the light and the beauty and everything. But MUSiC keeps going. Now that we have this, what am I going to do with this feeling? And I Am a Mountain is this outstanding answer to what are we going to do. It's fundamentally a song about endurance, which, I mean, that presses my buttons. I love songs about enduring and continuing. But where I think it succeeds is it has this genuine excitement to it. Like it's a song that's like, it feels full of possibilities. Like I can do something. I can change. I can grow. I will endure. I'll weather the storms that pass, because the love is the thing that lasts. And we revisit that idea again. Let's introduce an idea. Let's come back to it later and see how the in between has colored that. I got this feeling, just what it is, God only knows. I got this feeling, I think I'm seeing thunderbolts. And then like revisiting that, I got this feeling I could summon up lightning. And then I got this feeling, just what it is, God only knows. A, B, this is almost like an A, B, C, B, A. Like it does that thing again. And then it ends, but here it goes. Like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't totally understand this optimism, but just let's hear it goes. Let's just run with it. There's a mirror here with Feels Like I'm Falling in Love, where Feels Like I'm Falling in Love is more about like opening yourself up when you're at your lowest point and climbing back up. This is about opening yourself up to change when you've heard a message that really resonates with you, when you're given wisdom that can turn your life around or that can offer some great change. What is the feeling of taking the first step? What is the feeling of opening yourself up to that possibility? I Am a Mountain just perfectly encapsulates this. I just really love this song. All right, so we move into Eterna, where I Am a Mountain is a sort of almost personal feeling of I can do anything. What are we going to do now? Eterna feels like the bigger picture response to this. All together now, you feel it flow. You feel it flow. We're all together now. It's reveling in this delighted feeling communally, where I Am a Mountain is sort of I am a mountain. Eterna is all of us. What would it be like if all of us could feel this bliss, this driving force, this connection with us all to be able to endure? And I also like a little beautiful symmetry that it does with its little interlude. So while this is just the funkiest, most kind of contemporary production, has a lot of motion to it. Also this bass line. The interlude here, this is the foundation of music. It's a beat that you can feel your body move to. And this is something that's as old as time. It's a thing that brings us all together. It's a chorus singing this. You can only have a chorus if you have a bunch of people. You can only have a rousing beat of claps if everyone's together on the same page. And so this feels to me like a continuation of this, we're all together, and just the joy and delight that can come from that. Continuing this sort of mirroring, All My Love, you could also argue sort of like Good Feelings, it's just a single that they put on the album. It's just a new song that came and they just wanted to get this out there. But to me, I feel like a new person. I feel like the world is full of possibilities. And I put that out into the world, and like I realized that yes, there are places that we can gather together and delight as well, and delight in that sort of shared humanity. But I do feel like we're also bringing it back to where we were at the start. You are throwing me a lifeline. A, B, B, A. So we're coming back to revisiting the individual that got us going. It starts with, we've been through low, been through sunshine, been through snow, all the colors of the weather. We've been through high, every corner of the sky, and still we're holding on together. You've got all my love. Whether it rains or pours, I'm all yours. This continues the metaphors from previously. Storms past, love last. Let it rain, I'm a mountain, I'll endure. We keep revisiting similar metaphors. Even in Jupiter, follow the rain to where the rainbow lay. Love that line, by the way. There's so much symmetry in the message here. Again, you can judge these tracks as individual tracks, but when you put them in the context of this entire package, it turbocharges everything that these songs are trying to say. All My Love, yeah, it's a love song. It's a sappy Chris is just being a dork in love, and that's beautiful. To me, All My Love is like, hey, thank you for getting me going. I would say that this might be one of my least favorite tracks on the album. As an individual track, I feel like it takes a little bit of time to get going. It's kind of Elton John core, which doesn't terribly do a whole lot for me, but by the kind of back half of the song, it really comes together.
Whether it rains or pours, I'm all yours.
I'm always a sucker for Johnny solos. It's not gonna win my favorite Coldplay song ever. I Am a Mountain did that in context. I Am a Mountain by itself, still probably one of my favorite Coldplay songs, but in context, absolutely. But it's just good, and it's very heartfelt. And then we close on One World. One World I see as going back to the A in that A, B, C, B, A format. One world, only one world. In the end, it's just love. That's all it really has to say. That's all it really needs to say. There's all kinds of beautiful musical metaphors here. There's the everybody singing ah together. I'm in this, which is awesome. So in a way, hey, I'm on a Coldplay album. That's kind of cool. Kind of buttoning up everything that we covered. I feel, again, if this album ended on All My Love, that just wouldn't be right. Really does sort of need to go back and revisit a sort of more broad existential picture and figure out where are we now that we've gone through this journey. If I was making artistic choices for Coldplay, which is really none of my business, they don't need me for this. But I feel like if they revisited that melody from the beginning, that piano melody, one more time here, but if it was like really full and it felt a little bit more like together, I think that would have been pretty powerful too. It ends on, in the end, it's just love. And really, that's kind of their bigger message anyway. And then there's the unnamed melody at the end. That's just a hidden track. I'm not going to think too much about that. I think it's really cute that I believe Chris's daughter wrote that. And it's sort of the skeleton track that Chris improvises on during live shows, that's just delightful. That's cute. And it just sounds very earnest and lighthearted and joyful. And that's great. That's moon music. That's moon music to me. It has something to say. It introduces ideas and constantly revisits them. And it does so in a way that makes sense as an album. You cannot judge moon music as a collection of tracks. It is not a collection of tracks. It is a complete 45-minute work of art. And it has things to say and it expresses it through music. And I really like it. Each individual piece sounds beautiful. The production is outstanding. Everything's just so crystal clear. Song arrangements are just really smart. Like there's just little subtle details that come in that just are so good. Little bass slides, just little licks, little pieces, little synths that just kind of pop in to punctuate lines that don't like steal the show, but really just provide a lot of atmosphere. Like this is a deeply atmospheric space that they put you in to say these messages. Not only that, again, I think the messaging, and not only just the messaging, but the delivery of the messaging, where it's just constantly reinforcing its own message, is just, they've never done anything this cleanly. Ghost Stories came close. I feel like Ghost Stories, again, starts and ends on kind of the same idea, but it revisits its idea once you get back to the end and does sort of form an infinite loop in a way. But I feel like there's a start and an end to moon music, and we're in a different place by the end. Gosh, I just really freaking love this album. And so this is me giving it flowers. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hearing out the opinion of just another human. Have a good one.